as this is very true in war often, othering each other makes it more palatable. And it makes it easier to kill somebody if you have an inaccurate picture of who the so-called enemy is. And it seems that the Federation and the Klingons have some misunderstandings about each other.
Perhaps I could use this as an excuse to go to those far-off planets with little polka-dotted people if necessary, and be able to talk about love, war, nature, God, sex, all those things that go to make up the excitement of the human condition.
I'm Captain James Kirk.
Spock.
Your move, Captain.
Jim Kirk of the Enterprise.
What's going on? I'm James Kirk. These people are my friends and my shipmates. Leave my crew alone.
Out of the question.
How about that?
James Kirk.
It fits like a glove, Captain.
Oh, the bonehead ideas. Gentlemen, I'm Captain James Kirk. Get out of my chair. Get out of it now.
My greetings and felicitations, Captain. So good of you and your officers to, drop in. Absolutely smashing.
Hey everybody, welcome to Humanist Trek. It's a Star Trek podcast about the humanism in Star Trek. I'm Sarah Ray.
And I'm Allie Ashmead.
And we're finally caught up now that I can talk about we went to QuadCon in Omaha, Nebraska. It was a lot of fun. We took the kids, and we've been wanting to get, particularly our son, into cosplay, because he's into like My Hero Academia and stuff in that world. Yeah. And but you know, he's a moody teenager, so he's like so I thought, you know, if we could just get him out there and let him see his people, we've talked about before.
Right, because he won't know what he's missing unless he gets out there.
So we did. Becca and I dressed up for the Humanist Trek booth.
Yeah, and I will say, let me just say that your costume was awesome too.
Thank you.
It was the yellow. Was it number one or was it the yellow?
It was just a yellow, the gold
original
series dress. Yeah. I had that made by an Etsy seller in Spain, of all places.
Nice.
So there you go. So we set up our booth. We had like giveaways and stuff, Humanist Trek, like stickers and magnets and stuff.
And you had the Dabo wheel.
We had the Dabo wheel out. Yeah, people loved that. We were down so we were in a mall, and think about, 1983, what the mall is. And then, fast forward all of these years with no one having done anything to take care of the place.
I think that's all malls, honestly.
Right.
Yeah, for some reason. It's like malls kind of went out of style, but they're still standing.
Right. So this was kind of a smallish mall, and they had taken over. And again, this guy does events all over that area, right? Like, so Iowa, Nebraska, Illinois, that kind of area. So he rents out these empty spaces in malls, and they were like a bunch of different storefronts that had been abandoned by whatever store, shut down.
That's crazy.
And so they opened those up and set up vendors in there. And so some of us were in hallway, like in the mall hallways, and some of us were in like storefront spaces that were not occupied.
So did people have to pay to attend?
No,
because you just wander into the mall and
exactly, and this is going on, right?
Wow. So how does he make his money? How is he able to rent out those places? Well,
he also is a comic book dealer, right? So like that's his big business, and so he has his business set up at all of these too. Right, selling comic books and stuff, and that brings really cool. It brings business to me. It brings business to other dealers. It brings business to like the indie comic makers. So yeah, it's really neat.
That's really cool.
And it wasn't just comics. Oh man, there was one. There was a news story that dropped over the weekend while we were there. And okay, so here's the thing: a lot of the dealers had old stuff, like all the old toys that I had when I was a kid, right? And so there's that. But then there's also the dealers that are like shelves and walls filled with pop vinyl things. And then over the weekend, the news story dropped. They're going to like dump $20 million worth of merchandise or some shit I don't remember the number. The
Pop Funko doll, which I have a few. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just gonna dump them to liquidate the inventory. Just get rid of them.
That's so stupid.
Right?
Oh my gosh, we would take them all.
Right. There is an adorable one, by the way, of Kirk and Spock, and I almost bought it. It was only $20, and it's Spock with his hand on the glass, and Kirk on the other side.
Oh, you should have got it.
As Spock dies. Yeah, I don't need more plastic crap, though.
I know. I'm the same. I don't need any more. That's why I haven't bought any. But if you just take them and they'll be worth something in about 50 years.
Yeah,
but
we all said that about Beanie Babies, and they're not. We all said that about like all of those things that hang on to them because one of these days.
But you never know.
Yeah.
And then not Wednesday. I'm calling her Wednesday. She does have a name. Rue, your daughter.
Yes.
She pretty much became Wednesday.
Oh, I learned from this child. We were laying in bed one night, and I don't even remember how we got on the subject. And we were just so we're caught up on Young Sheldon. Mm-hmm. We're caught up on the new Night Court, like all of the Star Trek series. We're caught up on all of the things that we're not binging. Mm-hmm. What the hell are we going to watch? And so when we just want to shut our brains off and lay down and rest, we'll watch like Whose Line Is It Anyway? Yeah. So I'm flipping through all the different channels on our smart TV, and Wednesday came up, and I was like, oh yeah, I've I'll check it out.
It's all on social media.
Yeah. So cool. And Rue has talked about it before, like in some of the games she plays, Roblox and whatever, there are Wednesday themed things, right? Mm-hmm. So she's aware of it, I know. So I'm like, oh, watch it, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And she starts telling me what happens in the episode. My 7-year-old has been watching Wednesday on her iPad in her room.
Wow. Okay.
All on her own. And I was like, oh, and she didn't get scared by anything. And, she
That's good.
Yeah. So then we proceeded to watch the whole series that's out so far. And she is just obsessed with Wednesday Addams. So, yeah, we bought her. Well, she's gone through a few iterations of this. The one that she wore in Nebraska was, a homemade. Mm-hmm. We pieced, like, Becca took her out to Carter, I think. It was one of those kids' clothing stores that was still selling. Like, that's where you can go to get school uniforms.
Oh, okay.
Because the new Wednesday series is like, it's Wednesday Addams in high school. Right. Mm-hmm. So they did that. And everybody loved her. Of course, she was great. And then my son was a Jedi working the Humanist Trek booth.
Yay. We won't hold it against him.
No. But
wrong star series, but it's fine.
It was a small event, but we got rid of all of our coffee cups. We had some straight out of Romulus coffee mugs, cleaned those out. We had awesome. We had some of the notebooks, and I think I only brought 2 or 3 of those back.
Awesome.
A couple T-shirts, stickers, magnets. It was great.
Yeah, and we got a new Patreon member out of that too.
Mm-hmm. So the next phase of our conventioning is going to be selling shit at the convention. So
yeah, we've got some cool shit.
Yeah.
So it's really pretty cool.
All right, well, let's get into this week's episode then. Star Trek: The Original Series, Season 1, Episode 27, Errand of Mercy.
Sir, contact with an object. It's moving toward us. No visual contact yet.
Deflectors, full intensity.
Mr. Sulu, yes, Captain. Anything on your scanners?
It's coming at light speed.
Collision course. Visual contact.
Anything, over.
All wavelengths dominated by ionization effects, sir.
All engines full stop.
Okay, so we opened this one on the bridge. And there were some fun camera angles in this first scene that I don't think we get to see very often. There's like a pan across the bridge as Kirk arrives and Spock hands off a floppy disk.
Yeah, like everybody's doing busy work, and then they love the floppy disks.
They do, and then but Kirk's holding like this, what looks like an old cassette recorder.
Yeah,
in his hand, and he puts the floppy disk in.
And Spock says that they've reached the designated position for scanning the coded directive tape. So, what? Okay.
Yeah, right. So, negotiations with the Klingon Empire are breaking down. Starfleet Command expects a surprise attack. So, off we go to Organia, which we've never heard of before, to prevent the Klingons from using it as a base. Organia is apparently an M-class planet within the disputed area, inhabited by primitive, peaceful humanoids, and Spock says it's Class D- on Richter's scale of cultures.
I didn't know that was a thing.
It's a totally made-up thing for Star Trek. I had to look it up.
And then Kirk says something that says it. He says, this sounds like this is going to be another Armenia, Belgium, which I think he's referring to something in our history from World War I. There was like a Armenian genocide around like early 1900s, but I didn't know what that meant. So I was only guessing.
Yeah. Well, and he says, doesn't he say something about like the Armenians and Belgians are the weak innocents who just happen to be along invasion routes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're in the way from me to my target. So sorry.
We're going to kill you all, I guess.
Just then, a ship appears out of nowhere and starts throwing shots at the Enterprise. And everybody does jerk.
The jerk. We love the jerk. They're being shot at by this Klingon warbird, whatever they're called. So Kirk orders, phaser banks to lock on and return fire. And I guess that did it because...
it didn't take much.
Yeah. So Sulu says, I only see floating debris. And the damage report to the Enterprise was just minor damage and light casualties.
Uhura gets a phone call here. This did not make sense to me. So a Starfleet command called up with an APB, Code 1, War.
Yeah.
If this attack on the Enterprise was the act of war, how the fuck would Starfleet Command know about it so quickly?
Yeah, I don't get that, but maybe there was something else going on that happened somewhere else, but they didn't elaborate.
Right.
And so Kirk is like, well, want it or not, we've got war. But war or not, they still have a job to do, which is basically try to get to the base and prevent the Klingons from taking it.
It's a race. It's a race. Space race. Captain's log out of the scene. We've arrived at Organia. No sign of Klingons here, but another unit apparently does have some Klingons in the area. And
so maybe that's what it was. Yeah. Because Uhura's like, she reports like Unit XY's blah, 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 reports of a fleet of Klingon ships in their sector, but they can't get the bearing, though. Yeah.
Again, Kirk does that thing where he passes off command to Sulu so that he and Spock can beam down, and he goes out of his way to make sure that like Sulu knows his duty is to the ship, not to the away team. And Sulu's like, yeah, dude, every time you beam somewhere, this is the policy. Like, after 27 episodes, I think I got it.
Yeah. But it's always strange to me, like, why does, like, normally the captain stays on the ship? Like, in most more current episodes.
In normal Trek.
Right. No. Well, not normal, but more current episodes, the captain only goes out if necessary.
Yeah.
But I guess he always goes.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting observation between the original series and Next Generation when that changed. You know, audiences during the original series, they thought, at least, they wanted that swashbuckling in the midst of all the action captain that they were getting with Gunsmoke and whatever, you know? Right.
But technically, the captain is pretty much irreplaceable, and he should stay his ass on the bridge.
Right. So then that changed in the 80s for Next Generation. And what did that say that they were thinking about how the audience had changed in that time? Or were they thinking about that?
Yeah.
Kirk also makes clear that if Klingons should show up, don't just race in their phasers blasting, you know, like evaluate the situation first. And if there's a whole fleet, then get the fuck out of there.
Right.
Kirk and Spock materialize on the planet in front of what looks like an old abandoned medieval times building.
Yeah. It's like Disney all over again.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to like the medieval times thing at Disney?
There's one on 192 out east, I think, is the medieval times near Disney that I think of when I see this building. Orlando people will get it.
Yeah.
And then they talk about this other castle fortress looking thing off in the distance.
Well, and they're also noticing like they materialize in the middle of a courtyard, and nobody even just fucking notices him. He's like, do they have people beaming down every day or something? Because nobody even paid him any mind.
perhaps these people are not as primitive as we were led to believe. So we see some townspeople like milling about, going about their business. One of these townspeople comes out from the building and welcomes them. This is Aelborn, who for some reason tells Kirk that they don't have anyone in authority, but also that he is the chairman of the Council of Elders, which sounds like authority to me.
But there's no one in
authority. Yeah.
And he does. Did you see the little bow he does? This greeting. So he says welcome, and then he bows and he does this.
Oh, he does this. Yes.
Wave as if he's waving smoke away. I don't fucking know. That's funny. And Kirk does the same and introduces himself. And so then I guess he takes them away to the Council of Chambers that isn't the authority.
Well, Kirk's like, you people are in big trouble. You people.
Who you mean, you people? I hate when for some reason I have like a visceral reaction when someone says you people, but Kirk always says you people.
You people are in big trouble. Yeah, so they head off to the council chambers to talk in private. But on the way, Spock decides he wants to split off and do some investigating around the city. The councilmen are gathered and Kirk starts explaining the situation. And in this, we get, I think, our first real culture building of the Klingons. Kirk says they're a military dictatorship. War is their way of life, and therefore life under Klingon rule would be very unpleasant. But the council members are just like, nah, bro, we good.
No, yeah, we're fine. They're like, thanks for the offer, but
they're so calm.
They're smiling.
Yeah.
We don't have anything that they would want. We've no need of your protection. We don't think the Klingon invasion is going to pose any threat to us or our way of life. And Kirk is like, what the fuck are you on about? Are you blind? He's like, they're going to...
That's the first thing you're going to lose.
Yeah.
You're
going to be slave labor. They're going to take all your shit. They're going to kill you.
And he's like, but the Federation will protect you.
Right.
Help you build defenses. And they're just not interested. And Kirk's doing that thing where he rang the doorbell and he started pitching the Starfleet solar system. And the potential customer keeps saying no, but he doesn't leave. Because they're just like, no, we're good. We don't need your help. And he's like, yeah, but the Klingons, no, we don't need your help. No, I don't want to buy your solar system.
Yeah.
No. But it does this. I don't care what it does. I don't want it.
Like a J. He's like a Jehovah's Witness right now.
Yes.
And they're like, well, if they're so dangerous, maybe you should go back to your ship.
Or and I thought, here we go again. These fucking colonizers rolling up to yet another planet to tell them what to do and how to do it. I thought, here we go again.
Yeah. And sure, it is for the reason that they're trying to keep the Klingons. So there is a selfish reason.
Yeah.
They're trying to keep the Klingons from having a base.
Right.
But they want the base too.
Yeah.
But they're just offering a kinder, gentler solution than the Klingons will.
Yeah.
So basically,
their offer is, yeah, we're colonizers. But have you seen those other colonizers?
They're so much worse than us.
So much worse. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Kirk is like his last ditch effort. He's like, well, we'll give you technicians and food and advancement. We'll help you feed people, more than you can feed them now. And we'll you don't even have schools or libraries. And this
was all colonizer talk too.
Oh, totally. But then just as they were about to say no again, Kirk gets a call from Sulu and he's like, hey, Captain, we got a whole fleet of Klingons up here. It just dropped into orbit.
There's a point where Kirk says something about, I'm a soldier, not a diplomat. And that felt very wrong to me. Like, I know original series was all submarine warfare and military rank structures and stuff, but I don't know that in retrospect that I ever thought of Kirk as a soldier.
Just as a warrior person, but he's not a diplomat, that's for sure. Yeah. And that's probably why he should have stayed his ass on this ship.
Picard, he is not.
No, he's not. But I feel like a captain should be because you can't be a captain of a ship, explore new worlds, and not have some kind of diplomacy.
Yeah. They roll up and they're like, look, we can help you build schools and, we'll give you food and all of this stuff and get rid of disease and everything. And Aelborn's like, Yeah, we've heard about you. Something about we have the land and you have the Bibles, and after you leave, you have the land and we have the Bibles. Mm-hmm. Hard pass. Mm-hmm. No thanks.
Yep. Been there, done that.
Not interested. So a whole mess of Klingons have arrived. And note here that Sulu says Klingons. They still haven't quite canonized the pronunciation. Kirk orders Sulu to leave, contact the fleet, and come back with backup.
At this point, Spock is back in the room with the council members and Kirk. And before Spock can even confirm anything that Sulu said, there's this counselor named Trefane. He's like, they're taking up orbit around the planet and they're activating which I think is a transporter. And both him and Spock are like, how the fuck does he know that?
Yeah, he seems to be able to sense things that are happening, or like he's a seer or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now that the Enterprise is gone, the council is offering to protect them. Yeah. And Trefane is going on and he's saying, well, there's several hundred men that have appeared near the Citadel. Again, Kirk and Spock are like, how the fuck? Aelborn just says, well, Trefane is quite intuitive.
After the break, Klingon forces are marching around and Kirk and Spock have been given native clothing to try to blend in. Kirk should be easy to blend in, but Spock and those damned ears.
Always the ears.
Always the ears. So he's going to have to pretend to be a Vulcan traitor. Aelborn has taken their phasers, though, to prevent them from using violence. Apparently, they haven't seen the previous episodes of Star Trek, the original series, what with their two-fisted punches and karate chops to the necks. Taking away their weapons is not going to take away their violence.
We don't need no stinking phasers.
Nah.
They've given Spock a cover as as you said, a Vulcan merchant dealing in Kivas and Trillium. Do we know what Kivas is?
I don't know.
Because a Trillium, I was assuming, was some kind of mineral, but Kivas, don't know.
Well, let's look. Kiva.
Did you find it?
Kivas were commonly traded goods among merchants during the 23rd and 24th centuries. Spock posed as a trader of Kivas and Trillium while on Organia. Arn Darvin did the same while aboard the USS Defiant. Interesting. Upcoming episode tie-in.
So we don't know what it is.
Nope, it's just good.
Just stuff. Okay.
Uh-huh. And Trillium.
I was assuming it was some kind of mineral or...
Same thing, no specificity. It just says it was a substance being traded. Okay.
All right.
3 Klingons burst into the room, a couple of guards, and Kor, who quickly decrees himself military governor of Organia.
The nerve! I mean, the gall of this motherfucker. Like you said, which colonizer do you want?
Right. Right. I guess we should take a moment to talk about the look of the Klingons.
Yes.
And how that has changed over time.
Yes.
For the better.
In talking with the makeup artist when he was doing my face, he said originally they didn't really have an alien figure. The script, all it said was that they had bronze skin, facial hair, and they looked, and I hate using this word, but the script said Oriental. But so basically that was all. They had bronze skin, facial hair, and they looked Asian. So these guys, they're basically blackface or brown face, brown face. But that was okay back then. And
then that evolved.
It evolved into this massive forehead, but still the dark skin. Still the dark skin.
Right.
Which, it's fine. It's different than blackface. And I did have someone ask me if they thought it was okay that they were a Klingon. They were white and that they were Klingon. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I mean, you wouldn't offend me at all. But if you just showed up in blackface with, I'd have a problem with that.
Right.
But yeah, technically it's not blackface, and they were all dark skinned, whether they were black or white.
Yeah. This scene also establishes the idea that the Organians are like sheep, just happy to do whatever they're told by whoever tells them. And Kirk, who is now going by the name Baroner, does a shit job of trying to blend in. Right away, Kor notices that he's he doesn't seem subservient and he doesn't have that dopey smile on his face.
And he's like, where's your smile? Where's that stupid, idiotic smile that everybody else is wearing? Yeah. And I wanted to kick him because, like, dude, you can act, but he just couldn't, like, cover his anger towards the Klingons and hatred enough to even try to blend in.
Well, and worse, then they order Spock away, and he protests that.
I'm like, dude, stop it.
Yeah, you're giving yourself away. So they're going to take Spock away to test him to see if he's a Federation spy. When Kor asks if Baroner Kirk also welcomes Klingons to the planet, instead of saying yes, again, not blending in, he's like, well, you're here, not much I can do about it. Play along, man. Come on.
I know. And Kor is like, I'm detecting good, honest hatred.
Yeah.
From you. He's like, and he finds it refreshing. He's like, this is a man I can deal with.
Yeah.
So then he declares that the council are subjects of the Klingon Empire. So basically, you better respect my authority.
Kor decides that Baroner Kirk will be his liaison between the occupying forces and the citizens, because everyone else smiles too damn much, and Kirk's like, cool, but I don't want that job.
Yeah.
But he's not given a choice, and he makes Kor like him even more, because when they try to take Spock away to be interrogated and possibly be killed, he sort of like makes a move towards him, like he's going to try to protect him. But of course, Kor holds him back, and Kor's like, you got moxie, kid. I like that.
I like a little fight. Yeah. You got fight in you.
Spunk.
I don't understand.
Apparently, Klingons are still using paper products in 2260, whatever this is. Because
those mandates
yes.
or whatever. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, Kora's holding this scroll paper that has a proclamation printed on it. Gatherings of no more than 3 people. All publications have to be cleared first. Neighborhood controls will be established and hostages selected. So the Klingon occupiers are moving in. Spock is brought back in, and the Klingon lieutenant reports that he is who he claims to be, a Vulcanian merchant. And apparently Klingons have some kind of lie detector torture device that they call the mind sifter or the mind ripper.
Mind ripper. Yeah. And Spock, anyone, of course he can pass it.
Of course. But the way they described this device really gave me like Dagger of the Mind vibes. This device that can like tear into your mind and root around in there with a stick, and then it leaves you empty. Like it wipes your mind clean.
Like a vegetable.
Yeah.
It'll leave him a vegetable.
Big Dagger of the Mind vibes.
And they threatened Kirk with it, but somehow they avoided sending him to the Mind Ripper. They kept threatening him with it, but
yeah. So Spock is allowed to live another day, but he is warned, no funny business. And Spock's like, I do not see the humor in a Klingon occupation. Outside, Spock explains to Kirk that this mind sifter is some really brutal shit, but luckily Vulcans have the ability to shield their minds. It'd really fuck up a human, though.
Yeah, good old Vulcan mental strength for you.
Superior Vulcan mental strength. Kirk bumps into a Klingon and almost gets us into a Star Trek fight, but
I know.
Spock holds him back.
But so he bumps into the Klingon guy, and then Spock says, Captain. I'm like, dude, he can hear you. They can fucking hear you.
Play along.
Jesus Christ, whisper something.
Yes. So they discuss the next steps, and with the consideration that the Organians don't seem like they're willing to do anything except whatever they're told by the Klingons. Kirk wants to do something to prove to the Organians that they could fight back. So he's like trying to stoke up a rebellion. And Spock has a line here. He says, verbal persuasion seems to be ineffective. Perhaps a more direct approach. And all I could think here was that episode where the planets were playing electronic battleship. And, and they decided to go the direct approach of destroying all the disintegration chambers. Yeah. Like, here we go again. Kirk's going to come in and make decisions for people.
Well, that's what happened, because Kirk says, I noticed a Klingon ammo dump, which I guess is, basically where they store all their bombs and ammo. And so they come up with a plan to, like, blow it up. They're going to blow it up at night.
Fade to night. Kirk and Spock are sneaking around the city, hiding from passing Klingons. and Kirk jumps one, knocking him out. Spock is holding what looks like an old war grenade prop, which Kirk calls a sonic grenade, but again, they did like nothing.
Where'd they get it from?
Well, that was from the munitions dump, I assume. I guess they stole it from the munitions dump and then used it to destroy the munitions dump.
I guess. I don't know.
But they did nothing to try to futurize this device. Like, it looks like a wartime
grenade. An old-fashioned grenade.
Yeah.
So they toss it in one of the boxes and they run, and then it looks like fireworks are going off.
Yeah, it looked like, those viral videos that go around when like one of those places catches on fire, the fireworks warehouse, and that's what it looked like.
Yep. And then Spock says, a most satisfactory display. What's that? Anyway.
And in this next scene, Kirk and Spock are in the council chambers answering for this action.
They're appalled. Like I can't believe they were doing the violence and they're getting reprimanded.
Aelborn is pissed, or as pissed as you can be as a pacifist. And he says several times throughout this episode, he says, "You just don't understand us, Captain." And again, and I said this before, here we are, Kirk rolling up, calling the shots without trying to understand the people and their culture first.
Right. They can't wrap their head around the fact that they don't want to fight or want to keep the Klingons from getting something. And they're just they don't understand why they're not as passionate as Starfleet is. And like, look, man, we're just chilling here. We were fine before y'all got here. We don't need anything. Can you just trust us and leave us alone? But no.
Kirk's like, listen, history is full of examples of little people rising up against the big bad guys. Hell, one day history will remember this as Occupy Organia. Occupy Organia shirts coming soon to the Humans Trek merch store. Kirk does make some decent arguments here. He talks about like personal freedom as a value, and it doesn't seem like these people value that. Of course, Kor has the room bugged and is listening into this whole conversation, and he bursts into the room with a whole platoon of Klingon soldiers.
Oops.
Aelborn wants to know what Kor is going to do with Kirk. Well, first he'll be dragged into the mind scanner, and then he'll be killed.
So then I guess that, like, Aelborn's like, okay. He's James T. Kirk of the Starship Enterprise.
You don't need to do all that. I'll tell you who he is.
I'll tell you everything. I was like, fuck. He fesses up right away.
And Aelborn has a good line here. He says, for some reason, he feels he must destroy you, Commander, just as you feel you must destroy him. And in this particular moment, though, I don't think we got to sit in that quite long enough because the network affiliates had to pay some bills. Roll the commercials.
Roll that beautiful bean footage.
After the break, Kor orders Spock locked up and Kirk taken to his office. And in Kor's office, Kor's pouring out some drinks, and he tells Kirk that he just wants to talk. And Kirk's like, yeah, right, I'm not going to talk to the enemy.
This is crazy, though, because and I know that the Klingons changed later.
Yes.
But it's crazy that Kor, as brutal as he is, he's kind of charismatic, and he's like, I'm pouring a drink and wanting to talk, and Kirk is the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I want to fight. I want to kill you.
Yeah.
Which I think roles kind of reverse later on. But that's kind of cool.
I feel like we've seen this a lot in the show already, too. Kor starts going on about how like Klingons and humans are very much alike. There is a trope of the baddie in the film saying to the hero, we're more alike than you think or you want to admit or whatever.
Right.
Kirk's like, no way, man. We believe in democracy. You're dictators. And Kor's like, no, not that. Like more primal. And here we go again. Yeah. They liken humans to, wolves on a planet of sheep. And not just this planet, but many other planets to be fought over.
Right.
So Kor evil monologues about how he's going to dissect Spock to find out what makes Vulcans able to resist their mind scanner.
Yeah.
And then they're going to mind scan Kirk into a vegetable state if he doesn't start talking soon. 12 hours on the clock.
Yeah, he's like, he wants to know about the Starfleet deployment, and Kirk says, go climb a tree.
Yeah.
Come on, you ain't got nothing better than that. So he for some reason, 12 hours, don't know what the significance of that time frame is, but he gives him 12 hours to answer those questions. Otherwise, your mind, your vegetable.
Yeah.
Right?
Kirk is taken to the dungeon cell with Spock, and this is a real like castle dungeon playset shit here, like stone walls and iron torches on the wall.
Doesn't it remind you of that one dungeon they were in with Trelane?
Yeah.
Is it Trelane?
Yes, that.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was another like catacombs in an episode too that this reminded me of.
Oh, was it Of the Body?
Oh yeah, it might have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
It might have
Maybe
been.
that's what I'm thinking of. They both had castles anyway, but yeah.
I want to take a moment here to I highlighted what I'm going to talk about next. I want to take a moment here to mention how hard it is to prepare for this end of season episode we have coming up, where we're just going to take a look back at the season, because I don't remember one episode from the next. I have such a hard time remembering that, and I think this may be tied to why I like episodic Star Trek more than serialized Star Trek. Because I forget from one week to the next which one of these things we've watched. And I have typed copious notes about the episode, and then I'll be like, oh, what was that episode again? I don't know. It's gone.
Yeah, it runs together. Yeah.
Okay, some time passes, 6 hours, 43 minutes left, and Kirk and Spock are still thinking they're going to be able to escape and put an end to the Klingon occupation. They're very hopeful here. The door to their cell opens, and it looks like they're taking up positions to pounce the Klingon who comes in. But it's not a Klingon. It's Aelborn. And he's like, well, shall we go?
It's like
nothing.
What's up, guys? What's up, guys? Come on, let's go. So basically, I guess Aelborn is offering them kind of safe passage back to the chambers, and they realize that, well, it took them so long, but the Klingons are actually going to do violence against them, and he's like, I can't permit that. And they're like following him. There were 2 guards outside of their door. They're gone. They're not there. Maybe Aelborn's got some wicked powers or something.
Yeah. They all go back to the council chambers, and Kirk's like, are you an idiot? This is the first place they're going to look for us. Well, he has a fun line here, too. He says, first you turn us in, then you get us out. What are you doing now? Waiting for the Klingons to post a reward so you can turn us in again and collect it? And again, Aelborn says, how little you understand us, Captain.
Yeah. They rush in. They, like you said, they didn't understand the situation, didn't take time to understand the people.
Yep. And again, right here, rather than take this opportunity to try and understand them, Kirk and Spock want to know what happened to the guards, how they were able to escape the dungeon playset, but they get no answers. Cut to the Klingon lieutenant coming into Kor's office to break the news that the prisoners have escaped. This guy did some weird salute thing with his hand. Did you catch this?
I did not.
Throughout the episode, he salutes like this.
Oh.
It's like a very like...
Hi.
Like elbow in, close to your body. It was just an awkward pose.
Hi.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Really awkward.
That.
Back in the council chambers, Aelborn is once again explaining to these blockheads that their people find violence unthinkable when Kor comes across some audio broadcast system. We get some phaser sound effects, and Kor announces that he has killed 200 Organians and will kill another 200 every 2 hours until Kirk and Spock are turned over.
And they're just sitting there smiling on the council, just completely unaffected.
Yeah. So we go to commercial, wondering whether the council's pledge of nonviolence will require them to hand over our heroes. Will the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the two?
Nice.
Thanks.
Kirk's like, didn't you hear them? And Aelborn's like, yeah, of course, but nothing's changed.
Yeah.
And Kirk's like, okay, it's up to you and me, Spock, to fix this. And he's like, give me our phasers back. But Aelborn initially says no, but then Trefane, the intuitive one, Yeah, he's like, well, you better let him have it, as the Klingons are actually about to, do something bad to them. So he's like, fine, they're in the cabinet over there. So
once they get their phasers back, Kirk says something to the council, like he has no great love for them, their planet, or their culture. And again, I thought we were supposed to go into these. You're to seek out new life and new civilizations. Like, you should go into these situations with the desire to better understand them.
Yeah, so he's like literally mad at them now because they won't listen to him.
Yeah.
And so now he's like, fuck you guys. He's like, fuck you.
So they're going to take on the Klingons, even if it means they get killed. And after they leave, the councilmen have a conversation about the need to stop them all from harming each other. And Trefane, the seer, says that they will have to wait until darkness. And then, terrible, inconceivable, savage.
Yeah, he's like telling the future. So that just told me, okay, they're more than they seem.
Yes.
They sit there and they smile through the whole thing. Surely, if they say that they're fine, then they must really be fine.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got it all under control and they need to trust them.
Right.
But yeah.
So later that night, Kirk and Spock are slinking around the bushes while a dog barks. Did you hear that? There's a dog barking in the distance. Yeah. Like a plain old dog. There's a couple of guards they need to take out, and Spock says it's difficult to be precise, but he estimates that their odds of getting out of there are 7,824.7 to 1. And again, there's that fun little banter relationship building moment where Kirk's like,
difficult to be precise? 7,824 to 1?
And Spock's like, no, I said
7,824.7 to 1.
That's fun stuff.
I love their banter in the face of like battle.
Yeah.
And so I didn't hear the dog bark, but I did remember Spock said to set the phasers to stun and not kill. But then he says, because we're after the top dog. I don't know if that had anything to do with that scene.
Yeah.
Because I didn't hear the dog bark, but it just makes me want to go back and watch all of these again.
I know.
Because I've already, for this, to prepare for this, I already watched multiple times anyway, and I still miss stuff.
Yeah. So they fire their phasers and the guards drop. One of them even like rolls down the stone steps a little bit. In the council chambers, old man Trefane has sensed the beginning of all of this, and all the old men close their eyes and meditate real hard.
Oh, who knows?
Meanwhile, Kor and the Klingon lieutenant are headed to Kor's office, and Kor can't understand why these people don't seem to be motivated by anything. And he sends the lieutenant off to gather up another 200 of them to be executed. The lieutenant and the two Klingon guards are marching down the hallway, and Kirk is waiting just around a doorway, and he takes off his rope belt, and he jumps the lieutenant as he walks past. And from this hostage, we learn that they're going to kill another 200. Spock takes out the lieutenant with a neck pinch. Enough time has passed. You don't mean to tell me that those two guards walking ahead haven't noticed that their guys disappeared and come back by this point?
Or heard anything, hear any kind of scuffle? Or
get out of here with that.
Yeah. And so Kirk's like, okay, can I get some new odds now?
Yeah, Kirk presses refresh. Less than 7,000 to 1. Honestly, Spock says, I can't even believe we got this far.
So they head to Kor's office, and Kor is gloating that the Federation ships are on their way, and so are their Klingon fleet. So
did you notice when they burst into Kor's room, Kor kind of does that thing that you did as a teenager when your parents walked in without knocking, and you had to like pull your pants up with one hand and mash Alt F4 with the other.
Oh my.
No.
He did that jump and pull up the covers move when they came in. And Kor's like, well, here we are. Fun story. Your fleet is on its way and my fleet is ready to meet them. So they have a conversation here about, some of their differences as a species. Kor points out that Kirk's refusal to kill him unless it's absolutely necessary, showing mercy, is a weakness. And he says that Klingons are strong because they are a unit, all part of the greater whole, which there is something there. And the Federation does that in a different way. Mm-hmm. All part of the whole. But Kor was also tipping his hand that, like, even he is being watched. And he gestures up to the security camera in the corner. And then the Klingon guards rush in, but as everyone goes to draw their weapons all fall to the ground.
Hot potato, hot potato.
They all try real hard to start a Star Trek fight, but they can't touch each other.
Their hands are burning. Yeah. Then they cut to a really quick scene on the Enterprise where Sulu is back up in orbit and everybody jumps away from their stations because everything's gotten hot there too. They can't touch any of their weapons either.
The old councilmen arrive and explain that this is all they're doing. Claymare, the third, explains that all the instruments of violence now radiate a temperature of 350 degrees and are inoperative. Okay, but surely by 2260 whatever, we'll have all gotten up with the metric system, right? Mm-hmm. Please tell me we will all have...
Celsius.
Yeah.
No, probably not. But basically, they're all just too hot to handle.
You can't touch this.
Same conditions on the Klingon fleet, Enterprise, and all over the planet.
And it's at this point we learn the true power of the Organians. Aelborn claims that not only have they done this here, but also on the Klingon and Federation homeworlds.
Damn! I'm like, okay, you're that powerful?
Mm-hmm. In fact, he says, if you guys don't knock your shit off right now, we'll immobilize every last one of your people wherever they are. And Kirk tries to explain, like, that their grievances against the Klingons are legitimate. They're a warlike whatever. They've fucking attacked us. And Kor argues back, like, listen, they've both done some shit, clearly, as it happens in war. And then a Metron appears and says, we think the best way to settle this is to transport you both to a planet where you'll have to fight a Gorn.
To the death. That would have been funny.
Right? Kirk still tries to get the Organians on his side, reminding them that Kor killed 200 of their people. And Aelborn's like, yeah, that actually didn't happen. #superpowers. There's a good discussion about war here at the end. They sort of talk about how nobody really wants war, but sometimes that's the only way. And then eventually there will be peace. And Aelborn says, yes, eventually you will have peace, but only after millions of people have died. It is true that in the future, you and the Klingons will become fast friends. You will work together. And Kor is repulsed at this idea. He has this look on his face like when Vader told Luke that he's his father.
No!
When donkeys fly.
Claymare and Aelborn have had enough, and they're like, you people are just too much. You gotta leave. And finally, they finally reveal that they were once humanoids themselves, but developed into some kind of non-corporeal energy beings. And they only took this form to make things easier for visitors.
Which, I mean, like, how many visitors do they get? Like, That's crazy.
They're apparently an strategically important enough planet to both the Klingons and the Federation for where its location is. I don't know. They transform into these bright lights and disappear.
Bright lights and disappear, yeah.
Spock says, fascinating, pure energy, pure thought, totally incorporeal. Not life as we know it at all. And Kirk's like, to seek out new life, Spock, it's right in our theme song.
I'm like, duh.
With the war seemingly over, Kor says, a shame, Captain, it would have been glorious. In the button on our episode, on the bridge, Spock points out that Kirk has been awfully quiet since they left Organia, and Kirk admits to being embarrassed because he was mad that the Organians stopped a war he didn't even want in the first place.
Exactly. He was just uncharacteristically just bloodthirsty.
Yes.
Not very understanding.
Yeah. And he says, we think of ourselves as the most powerful beings in the universe. It's unsettling to discover that we were wrong.
Mm.
And Spock says, Captain, it took millions of years for the Organians to evolve into what they are. Even the gods did not spring into being overnight. And on that note, why don't we just fire off the Humanist Themes bumper?
Boy, I'm sure glad that's over with.
I'm happy the affair is over.
Me too.
A most annoying, emotional episode.
Yeah, but you know, I learned something today.
When dreams become more important than reality, you give up travel, building, creating.
One jealous god, if all this makes a god.
By sparing your helpless enemy, who surely would have destroyed you, you demonstrated the advanced trait of mercy.
Frankly, I was rather dismayed by your use of the term half-breed. You must admit, it is an unsophisticated expression.
I wanted to peel a little bit back at that, even the gods did not spring into being overnight. Because I'm not like, who wrote this? And how did that pass Gene?
Right, gods.
Right.
And then coming from Spock.
Unless it's like, is it like a saying from some Shakespearean thing? Like, they do that a lot. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, Gene Kuhn wrote this script, I know. Not Roddenberry, but Gene. But, I mean, it was still all under the umbrella of Gene Roddenberry. But
okay, so we've, in this episode and others, I know we've talked about the colonizers rolling up on some other culture and imposing our shit on them.
And then the people are like, no, go away. And they don't, they seem to know what they need. You know, I'm going to tell you what you need. No, you know what I mean?
Yep.
That's not fair.
Yep. There's a warning about the dangers of war in the episode. Like, despite our love of the Federation and their lofty goals, they're culpable in this war too. Like, it's been made clear that they've both done some shit. And now there's a civilian population caught in the crossfire. So, like, maybe war should be the last resort.
Yeah. Let's talk it out. Let's negotiate. The Federation had the power to negotiate right there. Like, Kor was pouring him a drink and talking, but he chose not to try to be diplomatic because he did say, I'm a soldier, not a diplomat.
Right.
But he could have really used a diplomatic, some chops right there, because he could have done something to talk them down.
Yeah. My big theme for the episode, I think, is, and as this is very true in war often, othering each other makes it more palatable. And it makes it easier to kill somebody if you have an inaccurate picture of who the so-called enemy is. And it seems that the Federation and the Klingons have some misunderstandings about each other. And again, you know, even in an outgroup that you see as completely different from yourself, if you take the time to actually talk and listen to each other, learn about one another to understand, then you'll almost always find that you have something more in common than you thought.
Yeah.
And wouldn't it be better to do that than just kill each other?
Yeah, one would think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of love how the Organians didn't flaunt their power.
Yeah.
I love that sometimes the most powerful people just sit back and they don't have to flaunt their power, as opposed to the Klingons. Hey, we've got these many men, we've got this, we've got these big ships, we've got this fleet, we've got all this firepower, and the Federation kind of does the same thing too.
Yeah.
You know, and they're just making all this noise. Oh, we're so fucking powerful. But then look, the big dick here was really the Organians. And they did all they did was smile. So I kind of love that kind of thing where you're the real power isn't the weapons and all this firepower and all these troops or whatever. It's peace. Yeah. And that is everything that they were about. And I don't know, I found myself getting so fucking irritated with Kirk because I'm like, why? Leave these people alone. I was like, get off the planet.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that the louder you are about what you have and who you are, the less you actually have, and the less powerful that you actually are. So,
well, to make it a little less evergreen, I thought about Ukraine, right?
Oh yes, I did too. Exactly.
So Kirk is rolling up here to Ukraine and saying, "Hey, the Soviets are coming. Let us protect you." Like,
and the Organians are the Ukraine saying, "I got this."
Right? Are we being the colonizer if we're if we're trying to protect someone from the worst the more bad colonizer, right? In this case, we're trying to stop the Klingons.
Right.
Does that make our cause noble in a way? Or are we just like any other colonizer, even though we're not as bad as that one?
Yeah. if we were like in current times, if we were to roll up and actually could help them, because right now we help them under the table because of Putin's threat to do like nuclear war on everyone. But I'm sure that we would ask for something in return.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like The Godfather. It's like, yeah, I'll help you, but
you got to help me too.
You're going to owe me one day. And you know what I mean? And that's what the Federation was doing, kind of like, sure, we'll help you, but we want the base.
Yeah.
And we won't kill you. We'll give you stuff, but we still want your planet as a base.
Yeah.
So which one do you do? Do you they're like you said, they're both. Which colonizer do you choose?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So why? But I'm just like, why choose it all?
Yeah.
Both of y'all get the fuck
off my planet. Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we were led to believe that they were kind of helpless at first.
Yeah.
And found that they were not.
And you shouldn't, like, if somebody says, back off, I got this.
Yeah.
Back the fuck off.
Yeah.
Because they could possibly be more powerful than you.
Did we have anybody die?
Not really.
No.
Not really.
No, not this one.
Yeah. Dang.
No mad bars.
No mad bars. No sweet, sweet mad bars.
Then we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons.
Thank you, patrons.
Thank you, patrons.
Awesome.
Let's get right to business.
Fine, I'm authorized to pay an equitable price. Federation has invested a great deal of money in our training. They're about due for a small return.
Listen, we pay off percentages. We're entitled to a little service for our money, huh?
Is this the way your citizens do business? Their right of petition?
They pay their percentages and the boss takes care of them.
Is there anything else?
There are many great ways to support the show here, and one of the free ways to do that is to leave us a review wherever you listen to Humanist Trek. I'm still on the watch for those. Give us a good rating, give us a review. We'd love to hear what you think.
Yeah.
One of the best ways to support us, though, is to give us some gold press platinum. We call that GPL. By becoming a patron of the show. We want to thank all of our patrons. We'd especially like to thank our founding admirals, Russell, Allie, and a new founding admiral joins the ranks this week. Pete.
Thanks, Pete. Welcome.
Pete Steiner is a guy we met at QuadCon, and he owns Comiker Press. So check him out. He's a really great guy. We had a wonderful chat at our booth, and we're super excited to have you aboard, Pete. Thanks so much. Patrons get early access to every episode, different merch at various levels, and some special Patreon-only content, like our review of the South Park episode on Star Trek. And we also just finished up recording Allie's Star Trek Cruise review, which will be in the Patreon-only feed as well. So head on over to patreon.com/humanisttrek. Pledge as little as $3 a month. It goes a long way to support the production of this show.
I assume you're loitering around here to learn what efficiency rating I plan to give your cadets.
Trainees, to the briefing room. Is that all you gotta say? What about my performance?
Aren't you dead?
I don't believe this was a fair test of my command abilities. There was no way to win.
There's no correct resolution. It's a test of character.
Now, what is that supposed to mean?
I am understandably curious.
May I ask you a question?
Who's been holding up the damn elevator?
Becca has rejoined us to give us the exciting answer to last week's Starfleet Academy Cadet Challenge. Last time on Humanist Trek, you asked us...
This episode introduces the Klingon Empire. Where did the inspiration for the name Klingon come from?
I believe my guess was some old military buddy of Gene's.
Army buddy. I think you're right. Yeah. I don't know what I said.
Well, I don't know if it was a military buddy, but it was named after Gene Roddenberry's friend, Bob Klingon.
Uh-huh. Okay. So do I get it, or do I get half a point, or what?
Guess I'll give you guys a point for that
one. Next week, we'll be reviewing The Alternative Factor. An alien being fights himself across two realities. What's our question for The Alternative Factor?
The father of what famous actress was originally cast to play the role of Lazarus?
Father of a famous actress?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Father of a famous actress. During that time. A famous actress now, or she dead?
No, she's famous.
Good clarification.
No, she famous.
I wonder, I'm trying to remember the actors and actresses that were parents.
I have no idea.
Enough?
I have no idea.
Is he old enough? I'm going to take a shot in the dark.
Okay.
I've no idea. But do you know he passed away actually recently. Jennifer Aniston's dad. Do you remember him? He used to play on the soaps back in the day as well. Don't know his fucking name though.
Well, you don't need to know his name. You just need to give me an actress's name.
Oh, Jennifer Aniston's dad. It could be.
Okay.
I don't have a clue.
He had great hair.
All right, well, we've locked in our answers. If you want to play along, no cheating, no Googling, set a course for your nearest social media app, except Twitter, and post your answer. Use the hashtag Starfleet Challenge, and we'll pick our favorites to be winner, and you'll get a highly coveted promotion. Next time on Humanist Trek, Season 1, Episode 28, The Alternative Factor.
Live long and prosper.
Kapla!
Humanist Trek is available wherever you replicate your podcasts. Follow us on all the social medias at Humanist Trek. Become a patron at patreon.com/humanisttrek. Open hailing frequencies to podcast@humanisttrek.com and visit our website, humanisttrek.com. Humanist Trek is a production of Sarah Austin Media.